What's going on, everybody? We are back. Episode number 240 of the Club and Sub podcast. Tonight, we're going to be chatting UFC Vegas 110. David Onama taking on Steve Garcia. Fun fight. Kind of a shitty card, to be honest. But, we talk about it and we do it. So it is what it is. First up, I guess let's chat last week really quickly. It was a pretty good week for me. I felt like it could have been a lot better. I won 4.79 units.
Nice.
Yeah, it was all over the place, though. I had a unit on Mizuki plus 350. Obviously, that went well. I had 3 units on Mackenzie Dern at minus 105. I had 2.04 units on Kill and Saul Killed at minus 102. I had 2 units on Mateusz Rebecki plus 115. That was a weird one because, I do feel like the right score was 29-28 Klein pretty clearly. At the same time, though, Rebecki 10-8 round 3, I didn't necessarily agree with it, but I could see how you got there. I do not see how a judge got to 10-8 round 2 for Ludovic Klein, though, which happened, which is why he ultimately won the fight, which is
right.
Pretty hard for me to understand. I had 2.87 units on Jonathan Almeida minus 191. That was AIDS. I posted on Twitter. I do understand why the fight was scored for Volkov, because Almeida just didn't throw much ground and pound in top position. Having said that, we're in this effective striking versus effective grappling, dynamic in that fight. And are Volkov's little hammer fists that are causing Jonathan Almeida visibly no harm at all more effective than him being pinned to the canvas in a dominant position and being unable to get off his back? I don't really think so. Again, I blame Jonathan Almeida for the loss. He deserved to lose because he didn't throw ground and pound. At the same time, I just think, that isn't effective striking. It's not. Whereas not being able to get off your back and giving up a dominant position is kind of effective grappling. So I don't know. I felt like Almeida deserved to win. I also had him by decision for 0.2 units, which was very, very fucking annoying. I had the over in Verna and Dern for 2.5 units at minus 125. I had Hamdi in rounds 1 and 2 plus 115 for half a unit, which was just like, dude, they cut him. I don't know if you saw it this week. So Hamdi's gone, deserves to be gone, in my opinion.
I did see that.
Yeah, it was I think a good decision. And then I had a bunch of bets on Cyril Gahn voided. I had a unit and a half on him at plus 310. I had round 3, round 4, round 5. I'm not going to speculate as to what happened. I just feel I don't know if he would have won or not. What I do know is he was about to win round 1, and Aspinall didn't look like he had many ideas, which, yeah, really frustrating. So it was a good night, but it could have been a lot bigger. How'd you do?
Only had 2 bets. So I had the over 4.5 rounds at minus 128 in the co-main event to win a unit during Jandaroba. So that was pretty sweat free. And then I had Delgado at minus 140 to win a unit. Personally, I mean, close decision. I try not to be biased here. I think Delgado won the first 2 rounds personally, but I'm fine scoring it for what, I guess. But
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we get into this card. It is
It's something.
It's something. It's not the best I've ever seen, I'll tell you that much. But first fight of the night, we got Toledo Lancar taking on Ariane Carnalosi. The current price, Lancar is minus 225. The comeback on Carnalosi is plus 190. I bet Lancar at minus 210. I really, and I bet her by sub as well at plus 575. I feel Ariane Carnalosi is, yeah, I think she's one of the worst fighters in the division, if not the worst, to be honest. Can't really defend takedowns. Her jiu-jitsu is borderline non-existent. Her striking is terrible. I understand why people want to fade Toledo. She's not a great striker. She has gassed out in the past, albeit at a fight that was at an insanely high pace. Her optics aren't always the best, but, she's got okay wrestling. She's got pretty good takedown diversity, good single leg, good trips against the fence. And she's got a really nasty top game, honestly. Very good positional grappling, nasty submission game, good body triangle. And I just look at it and I'm like, yeah, I mean, if Carnalosi can keep it upright, it's a terrible bet laying the juice, right? Like people are going to say, how can you lay minus 210 on Toledo and Lancar? I don't see much reason to think that's the case, though. You know, Na Liang got her down very, very easily. Lupe Godinez took her down 9 times. Vieira, the one time she took her down, controlled her very, very easily. I guess she defended Vieira's takedowns okay in round 2, but I mean, at the end of the day, we have a large sample here. She's got 14% takedown defense. I don't really see a reason to think she's going to be able to keep this upright if Toledo takes the path of least resistance. And on the mat, you know, I know she got up against Lupe, but Lupe's control isn't the best. And I feel like Lancar, if she gets on top, is just going to own her there. Like Lancar is by far the best grappler she'll have ever had on top of her by a mile. So yeah, I don't see very much. And by the way, if it stays standing, I don't love Lancar. It's obviously not the fight that I want, but I'm not sure Lancar can't win on the feet here. Like Carnalosi, she's a plotter. She just throws hooks. She's slow. She's honestly terrible.
She puts more damage though on the feet.
Yeah, if she lands, sure. But my point is more like I feel like Carnalosi could get her ideal fight and lose, and it's going to be competitive, and she could lose. Whereas if Lancar gets takedown, she's going to maul her and probably submit her. So I like Toledo a fair amount here. Yeah. What do you think, Danny?
I think it's probably a good spot for Lancar, to your point. Like laying the juice, I think it is a good spot. I mean, I laid the juice with Vieira in our last spot and just kind of feel a little jaded just because it's like Lancar is just a little bit of a worse fighter, obviously, than Vieira in terms of like overall game, striking, grappling, cardio even as well. So like laying a big number on her does feel a bit queasy, but I feel like it's a great spot for her in terms of like just the offensive grapples because there's a huge gap in that department.
For sure. And it's also like, I mean, Stephanie Luciano looks like she's like a legit prospect in this division, you know? And, you know, she gassed out in that fight, but she attempted 24 takedowns. She got her down a couple times. She controlled her in the clinch. I cannot see Carnalosi putting up the kind of resistance that Stephanie Luciano did personally. Not even close to it. I think Luciano would be like minus 500 against Carnalosi if they fought, to be frank. So moving on, though, we have got Phil Rowe taking on Xiaokung Ko. Current price. Ko is minus 185. The comeback on Rowe plus 160. What do you think here, Danny?
Can you hear me right now?
I hear you.
All right. Sorry. A little delayed on my end. Honestly, I think to no surprise, it's a bit of a market overcorrection. Obviously, like Seung-Hoon Ko was like a plus 400 against Elliott, plus 350 in that market. And now he's a huge favorite over a seasoned vet in Rowe, and like to some degree I get it. Like I think Ko has like some grappling upside. Rowe's kind of a fish off his back, but like on the feet, like I think Ko has decent advantages here. I think he's the better boxer. I mean, Ko's only 2 losses are by KO. I think he has a durability issue, obviously, on the feet. And so like unless Ko's getting easy takedowns, I don't like love laying, you know, minus 200 basically. I just don't. I think if anything, if I was looking to bet the fight, I think Rowe knows scorecards would kind of be how I'd be targeting it, but I think it's a pass for me.
I bet Rowe at plus 175 in this fight, and I don't know. I know Ko had to put on a dominant grappling performance in his last fight. I don't think he's going to be much of a grappler in the UFC personally. Like rewatching that fight back, it was mostly Oban trying to attempt takedowns and then getting judo tossed out of the clinch and controlled from there. And
especially not the upper echelon, like him offensively grappling.
I don't think anywhere, man. Dude, if you watch this guy, when has this guy ever been a proactive grappler in his entire career? He wasn't even proactive last fight. Like Oban just kept opening up, you know, those sequences for him. So like, yeah, I guess I give him some grappling equity in the fight, but I can't. Like Neil Magny couldn't take Rowe down out of the clinch, and you're telling me that like Ko is going too easily and he's going to control the grappling in this fight? I don't really see a lot of reason to think that that's the case. I think he could get a takedown or two. I don't think control is going to be all that easy unless Rowe accepts bottom, which he has done in the past. But, you know, he looked pretty good on his get-ups with Angelusa in his last fight. At space, Ko's a good counter boxer. He's got fast hands. You know, he could definitely, you know, Rowe does tend to be a guy who's wooden and is willing to take one to give a fuse. So, like, I could see Ko having success with his counter game, but I mean, he's given away like 9 inches of reach here. He's given away about 4 inches of height. He's probably at a power disadvantage. You know, Ko was knocked out multiple times regionally. So I don't think we really know that his chin is all that solid. I do favor him slightly just because I think the stand-up will be competitive, and I do tend to think he's the more likely guy to get top position. But to me, it's a close fight. I feel like Rowe has, the physical intangibles he needs to compete here, So I have a unit and a half on Rowe plus 175. We'll see how it goes.
I don't hate it.
Moving on, we got Montserrat Ruiz taking on Alice Ardell Jan. Ardell Jan's a huge favorite here. She's minus 400. The comeback on Ruiz is plus 300. I mean, Ardell Jan should roll. She's the better grappler of the two. She's the much better striker of the two. She's more durable. She has better cardio. Ardell Jan, I'm not a huge fan of, but she's clearly made some improvements. She's competed with some decent fighters on the feet and on the mat. Montserrat Ruiz, the only thing she's done noteworthy in the UFC is keep Cheyenne Bays in a headlock for 15 minutes. I don't think that's going to happen here. I suppose that's her win condition, but I think it's pretty easy, Ardell Jan. I don't have much to say about it. How about yourself?
I mean, the only counterpoint I'll add to it is just like, this is like low level enough to like, this is not one like, she should roll here. Don't get me wrong, but it's not one you want to even bet on. Like, the price is probably justified enough. I don't think you're really getting much meat on the bone.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I'm not laying minus 400, but I think it's justified. Moving on, we got Ketlen Vieira taking on Norma Dumont. Current price, Dumont's minus 159. The comeback on Vieira plus 139. What do you think, Danny? Danny's frozen at the moment. I think it's a pretty interesting fight. I don't have a bet here. I feel like Vieira. I think saying Vieira's value makes some sense in this fight, just because she should be able to keep the fight upright pretty consistently here and make it a striking fight. She probably has the more grappling equity, if we're being honest. I don't think either of these women are particularly good off of their backs, but I just don't think that much grappling is going to happen in this fight, to be quite honest. It's to me, it seems like a fight that's going to be contested mostly on the feet. Like, maybe Ketlen gets a takedown or two, but I doubt she dominates there. And also, Ketlen's grappling hasn't been all that proactive in recent fights. Every now and then she'll go to it, but when she does, she tends to slow down terribly. And I just don't think Dumont's going to go to it at all. So I think we'll mostly get a striking fight. I like Dumont in that kind of fight. I don't love Dumont in general, but she throws a lot of volume. She's got pretty good footwork for the division. She's got really good striking metrics, believe it or not. Ketlen can obviously compete with her and win on the feet, but Ketlen is pretty wooden and she's pretty plotty herself. She kind of needs you to come to her, whereas that's not really Dumont's game. I don't see much finishing upside on either side. I just think I make Dumont a moderate favorite on the feet, and I just don't feel there's going to be all that much grappling in this fight personally. So I lean the Dumont side. I shouldn't say, at the number, I guess I lean the Ketlen side. I think it's a close fight, but I understand why it's lined where it is, and I don't have, a terribly strong opinion on it. What do you think, Lags?
I think we're in a similar boat. Like, I feel like, to your point, like, I feel like the fight is mostly going to be contested on the feet, and like Dumont throws a little bit more volume. Vieira is pretty low volume, is plotty, to your point as well. And like, sure, if Vieira gets on top, she probably can hold Dumont down, but like, getting her down is going to be the real challenge, and I just don't think it's going to be an easy task.
Yeah, that makes sense. Moving on, we got Dante Johnson. He's taking on Cedricus Dumas. Current price, Johnson minus 350. The comeback on Dumas plus 285. What do you think? Any strong feelings here?
Not really. Like, just because probably the opponent here against Johnson with Dumas, but like, Johnson really just can crush these 6 fights. Like, there's not really a UFC level skill set that I'm seeing here. Like, he has decent power, but he's pretty easy to find on the feet. Like, we touched on it on his last fight with Dumas, but we touched about him with every fight. Like, the guy looks like an athlete, but he's glacially slow. So like, if he was a bit faster on the feet, maybe he could catch Johnson, but like, I think it should be a cupcake matchup for Johnson personally on the feet.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to bet Dumas just because he's taking a reasonable step up in competition here. And like, he's not a big light heavyweight or middleweight. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of small. He is explosive. He's got KO power, but I don't think we've learned a lot. Like almost all of his fights have ended in the first round, and like I don't know what that's going to look like when he actually gets extended. The real question is SD Dumas going to be the guy to extend him? And I just don't know. I've been very vocal about how little I think of Cedric Dumas. That hasn't changed at all,
Right.
And are you tapping something on your desk flags?
No.
Oh, okay. That hasn't changed at all for me. And he's got he has no good skills, Cedric Dumas, for being honest. He's got a body kick and a high kick, and that's kind of it. He doesn't have much power in his hands. He's slow. He's got bad cardio. He's kind of a quitter. So as much as I'm tempted to bet the guy who's won 3 UFC fights, I feel like he's kind of won 3 UFC fights by default.
Well, that's not to mention won 3 UFC fights at the lowest level.
Yeah, at the lowest level, and they were with the exception of Brundage, who kept jumping guillotine and just laying on his back. It's not like the Tululan fight was uncomfortably close. So was Abu Azaitar, if we're being honest. Yeah. And Abu Azaitar,
I was gonna say both those guys have horrible gas tanks too.
Yeah, and Azaitar was 40 and hadn't fought in 3.5 years. So I think there's a big athleticism gap here. I think there's a big power gap. I wouldn't be shocked to see Johnson fumble this bag, but I don't have any interest in Cedric Dumas ultimately.
To me, Dumas has to catch him, really, because I feel like if it extends to a decision, the volume's not there for Dumas. And what is he going to offensively grapple him? I just don't. I don't.
He could, I guess, but I don't. His grappling's not that good.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Moving on, we have got Chang Ho Lee taking on Timmy Kwamba. It's a very interesting fight to me. It's one that I probably will not stake out a position on just because I don't like Chang Ho Lee as an athlete or from a skill perspective, but I do like his process. The guy is just nonstop, come forward pace, pushing you into the clinch, fighting there, looking for takedowns. It's the kind of style, I bet Cortavius Romeus last fight against him. Terrible bet, as it turned out. But I did it because I felt like there was a giant athleticism gap and Romeus could potentially shut down the grappling. He did not. And he looked awful, and it was an awful bet.
He's a bad fighter.
Yeah.
Turns out.
He's a terrible fighter. But somehow I ended up betting Cortavius Romeus in both of his UFC fights. It did not go well. So yeah, I like his style that he pushes a heavy pace, forces you into the clinch and whatnot. But I do feel like he's got some holes that's going to be exploited by better athletes. Timmy Kwamba on paper, I think, has the tools to kind of neutralize his clinch ability and, just shuck him off there. Kwamba's a pretty good wrestler. He's a pretty good athlete. Funny thing is 6 Hounds saying I'm the number one Cortavius Romeus fan in the world. I was betting Nate fucking Williams against him in LFA. I just got sucked into it in his 2 UFC fights. I don't know. I feel like Kwamba on paper is a guy who profiles as a dude who could beat Lee pretty easily. I think his skills are pretty tailored to shut down what Lee does best. I think he's a better boxer. He's a better athlete. He's got faster hands. He's got more power. He's really got everything he needs to win this fight. The issue is just Timmy Kwamba is a classic doer of nothing. He lets fights get away from him.
Yeah.
He fought in his fight with Roberto Romero in his last fight, I bet him there and he won, fortunately. But he was much, much better than Roberto Romero and he knocked him out. But that fight was getting away from him. He lost round 1 because he just didn't throw strikes. He almost lost to Mateo Vogel on Contender Series because, Vogel was just busier, even though he's the better fighter. It's kind of been the story of Timmy Kwamba's career is he just lets guys get in front of him and he's not really urgent at all. So I'm sitting here and I don't know. I do think Kwamba's got the skills to win this fight, but you have a guy who's going to do nothing but maraud forward and, put pressure on him and throw output against the guy who just doesn't let his hands go. If you told me Kwamba came out here and was I'm going to take the front foot, be assertive and let my hands fly, I'd be all over him because I think he would win this fight fairly easily if he did that.
Yeah.
But he's never done that. So I don't really trust him to do it. Ultimately, it's a pass for me. I do think Kwamba's got the tools that he needs to win here. What do you think?
Honestly, it's one coming out of tape that like I wanted to come on the Lee side just because like, and probably old me would be betting the Lee side just because I feel like has much more volume. He's going to be coming forward. I mean, just like the volatility in general, like it's all on his side. I think he has more finishing upside, in my opinion. I know you said you think Kwamba's got more power. I think Lee's probably got more power, more volume as well. But like Kwamba to me is more technical, can probably stay safe-ish on the feet. Like, but like at the same time, he almost reminds me of like a Carlos Hernandez type, like a good generalist, but like his margins are never going to be that wide in a win. So like Lee can definitely have advantages on the feet. To me, I'm looking at like a GTD minus 175. Honestly, it's a bit chalky, but I feel like most of the finishing upside is probably on the Lee side.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I see. I guess where I disagree is like Kwamba's coming down from featherweight. Like so it's like he should be packing a bit more power. But I mean, we'll see. Moving on though, we got a pretty good fight here. Or I shouldn't say good. We have a pretty hilarious fight here. We've got Kevin Christian, the self-proclaimed Brazilian John Jones, taking on Billy Alakana. Current price, Alakana minus 260. The comeback on Kevin Christian is plus 220. What do you think, Danny?
I mean, this fight's going to be hilarious, right? It's got to be. Just based on the tape that we're seeing, really. So Christian, though, I mean, not a lot of footage of him. Guy, huge for the division, but doesn't really use his length. Super easy to find on the feet. Doesn't seem like he has again, another guy who just seems like doesn't seem like he have a UFC skill set. He's got some power, but like I don't think he's gonna be knocking out a ton of guys at this division personally.
No.
Alakana can probably just stay safe on the feet and probably can mix in some takedowns. I like the over 1.5 minus 145. Played it to win a unit. I think Alakana again. It's a good matchup to me. It just honestly, it's like it's a level gap to me.
Yeah, I kind of lean. I haven't bet it, but I kind of lean to the over as well, and also that goes the distance. I think Kevin Christian is like hilariously bad. He's one of the worst, maybe the worst male fighter to ever get a contract in Contender Series. It's like him and Genaro Valdez. They're in that are that conversation.
True.
And like I've been higher on Billy than most people, but I mean he's still not very good. My thing with Billy is like actually a lot like Kwamba in some respects, where I feel like he's not bad at anything. Like
he's not great at anything.
No, he's reasonably skilled, but he doesn't let his hands go much. He's gassed out before. His grappling is good, but it's much more suited as a counter grappler than it is as being, a grapple first type of guy, which is what he's kind of turned into in the UFC. So I don't love him. And I feel like Kevin Christian, being the giant that he is, could definitely meme him for sure early in this fight. Yeah. But like my gut instinct here is Christian's so fucking goofy. My honest to God gut feeling is what's going to end up happening is he's like a giraffe, like he's going to end up just like tripping over himself and ending up on bottom a couple times here. And I think if he ends up on bottom, like Billy's got pretty good jiu-jitsu. I don't think he's going to get subbed off bottom. I feel like he'll end up just riding a bunch of minutes out there. I could even honestly picture it just being like Billy gets 12 minutes of control and it goes the distance like pretty comfortably. My concern is just I don't trust Billy enough to lay the chalk here. I don't trust him to take the path of least resistance. I don't trust him to be able. I think a lot of why I think that is I think Christian is going to do stupid shit that puts himself in like Billy's wheelhouse to win this fight. I do like the over though. Alakana seems durable and he doesn't let his hand go.
Well, I guess what I was going to say was like almost I feel like an over is a better pivot than a money line pivot to Alakana.
Yeah,
because like I feel like if it is going over, Alakana is probably looking good, and also conversely, he could probably still lose the decision. Versus it going under 1.5, it's almost all Christian finishing in.
Yeah, I mean, like who does Billy Alakana knock out really? I mean, he could knock Kevin Christian out. Kevin Christian is very defined, like he could, but like he wasn't really finishing many guys regionally either. So I'm kind of with you. Yeah, I like the over. I haven't bet it yet, but like I like the over. I like the goes the distance. Mike. I think we're going to get like Billy Grappling Clinic is what I think is going to happen, honestly.
For sure. What I was going to say is it's tough to go too big on an over here just because it is kind of low level to the point where like Christian maybe easily just falls over from just an easy caught kick. Billy's on top of him, subs him easy, and then it just you see a level gap. Really.
I'd be a little surprised.
I'd be shocked too. Listen, I'd be shocked too, but like Christian seems like just an awful fighter in general.
He does seem like the worst to ever do it. Although, we already talked about the worst to ever do it, Ariane Carnalosi.
We did.
But
we did.
Moving on, we got Alon Nasimento taking on Cody Duran. Banger fight here. Yeah. Nasimento is minus 300. The comeback on Duran's plus 250. it's a fight I'm having a pretty hard time getting a beat on, just because I don't really know, or I can't really tell how the grappling dynamics are going to play out here. I feel like there's a bunch of weird things about this fight. Like Duran, obviously, if they put on like singlets, would win a wrestling match. Obviously, the guy comes from a pretty legit wrestling background. I don't really have a great beat on what his defensive wrestling is like, though. Like, I don't think Cody's going to be taking this fight down much at all, personally. Like, I'd be shocked if he's like trying to like mix it up on the mat with Nasimento. I don't know what his defensive wrestling is like, though. You know, there's just not a lot of tape on it. Nasimento is going to try to take him down, but you know, Duran's a pretty good athlete for the division. You know, comes from a wrestling background. It wouldn't shock me if he shucks him off. I do think if Nasimento gets him down, he could potentially dominate the fight. I'm just not sure he can get him down. And on the feet, I do like Nasimento's volume a little bit more. You know, we saw him throw like 140 significant strikes or land 140 against Ralian Paiva on Contender Series a long time ago. He will throw strikes, but his boxing is deceptively very good. Like, he does a very good job of exploding into range and letting off combinations. Like, he's not one of these like single shot jobbers who, you know, just like lands one and lets it go. He'll actually let his hands go, and he actually has like a reasonable amount of power. And I do think if you get into Nasimento's range, you can crack this guy, man. We've seen it happen before. He seems pretty durable, but I don't know. I feel like I could see it playing out in a million different ways. I think Nasimento's got a bit more upside just with the grappling, and I do think his volume and cardio are a bit more reliable than Duran's. But I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Duran kept it a distance and was able to just land the harder shots and win a decision or win by knockout. So I don't know. I guess I'm kind of leaning to Duran. I just don't like the idea that if it turns out Nasimento can get easy takedowns, the price could look right or short. That concerns me quite a bit, which is why I haven't made a bet on it. Yeah. But I don't feel like it's a fight where, you know, Cody's drawing to something meme. I think he's got a pretty coherent path to winning this fight. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. I see the path. Like, Cody can land takedowns here, probably stay safe-ish on top of Nasimento, though. Like, I just feel like in general, Nasimento is just such a better grappler.
Nasimento's grappling is nasty.
Yeah, it is. And on the feet, I know you talked about Nasimento's striking. Like, I feel like in general, he just seems a little uncomfortable, but he's got good kicks, got good striking, got good volume, to your point as well. Like, not to mention this is on short notice for Cody. Like, it's tough, honestly.
I will. Well, so I heard actually in the chat, Half the Battle Dan said that he's been in ATT for like 7 weeks now. So like he's been training. It's not like he's getting off the couch here. I don't know.
I was gonna say the only last thing I'll add on is like minus 300 Nasimento. Like, how much more meat on the bone are you getting there?
No meat on Nasimento.
Exactly.
I feel like Nasimento could obviously win a striking based decision. It wouldn't shock me, but I don't think he's a good striker. You know, I really don't. And like, to his credit, I mean, Cody was literally boxing the fucking face off of, you know, Bruno Silva in the, you know, before he got flipped in that fight. So I don't know. I think whether or not there's value on the price on Cody, I think it's going to come down to how easy or difficult it is for Nasimento to get takedowns here. And like prior to Nasimento's last fight, I think I would have been more bullish on it. But like, the way Philo kind of bullied him physically kind of concerns me. And like Duran is kind of an alpha, like Philo is in some respects. He may not be quite as good as him, but you know, yeah, but he's willing to bite down and go forward, you know. And I really just did not like the way Nasimento responded to that. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll get there on a bet, but that's kind of the direction I'm leaning.
He plays guard too much, really. For like to get interested in like this kind of a number, really, and not having a potent striking game. Minus 300, it's tough.
Yeah, I agree.
And not to mention when you talked about like whether the money line is going to be justified or not, I kind of feel the same way about the total. Like the over 2.5 is pick 'em. Well, if it turns out he can get easy takedowns, well, the under probably looks like a good bet.
Yeah, that's fair. Moving on, interesting fight here. We got Charlie Radkkey taking on Daniel Frenza. The current price, Radkkey is minus 170. The comeback on Frenza is plus 145. What do you think, Danny?
The line's probably like close to right. Like, I get maybe it's a little wide on the Radkkey side, but like to me, Frenza's not good, not UFC level. Like, he's got some power, but he's wild on the feet. And like Radkkey's a bit more technical. I think he probably has commensurate power to Frenza. He has a huge offensive grappling advantage here. So like to me, minus 170 is probably fine if Radkkey takes the right approach. Even if he doesn't on the feet, I think he has a good advantage. Not to mention, I think he has a better cardio as well.
I don't know. I don't like Charles Radkkey as a fighter all that much, at least for the UFC
Neither
personally.
of these guys.
He seems a little wilty to me. He seems kind of fragile, to be completely honest. He got his knockout wins against Urbina and like cancer patient Semmelsberger. That was that. I mean, the Semmelsberger fight was bizarre. How easily Semmelsberger got hurt and finished in that fight. He looked slow and awful. But like on the feet, I actually think I trust Frenza in a brawl a bit more than Radkkey. I like his combinations better. I think he's a bit tougher. Like Frenza got hurt bad in his last fight, like knocked down 3 times, fractured his orbital, and he was starting.
Something.
It is, yeah, and he was starting to put it on McKee towards the end, like at the end of the round.
I know, but getting hurt bad by McKee though.
I mean, McKee's got a sneaky pop, but I agree, it's not great.
Yeah.
But like, if you told me it was just going to be a striking fight, I'd agree. I do agree with you, though. I think Radkkey has a potentially big grappling edge. The thing with Radkkey that I can't unsee the fact that this guy couldn't get Blood Diamond down, man. Like that was pretty
UFC debut. Like, I'll give him a bit of a pass.
He was flying
across the country.
He was not fighting an MMA fighter, though. He was fighting a kickboxer. I agree. He was across the world, UFC debut.
Yeah.
And like, if he can get Frenza down, he can probably get a body triangle in and potentially sub him. But I'm just not. I mean, he can get him down, and that's why I'm passing the fight. But I'm not really all that sold on him him doing it. I just can't. Like, I rewatched the Blood Diamond fight twice, man. His entries on his takedowns are terrible. In the clinch, he is not. Yeah, that was most of the fight.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to have as easy a time. I mean, he might be able to press Frenza to the fence for a long part of the fight.
He probably can.
Yeah, because Talunzik did, so he probably can. And that's enough for me to pass. But I really don't trust Radkkey to implement some kind of a dominant grappling game plan here. Personally, I really think it's going to be, him. Maybe he gets a lot of cage press here. Maybe he gets a body triangle at one point, and that's enough to make him a favorite. But otherwise, I think they're going to bang it out. And like, if they're banging it out, I do kind of lean the Frenza side. But yeah, I mean, when you're giving up a potential minus 400 path to an opponent,
it's tough.
It's tough. It's tough to kind of get there.
The under's interesting because it's like around a pick 'em, and that's what I was honestly just looking at. But
what if it turns into the Blood Diamond fight where it's like 15 minutes of cage control?
Right, and that's the thing. Radkkey can easily just go to the offensive wrestling.
You know what's weird? That the under 2.5 is pick 'em. This has to be wrong. I'm seeing like GTDs in the 180 range and the under being near pick 'em. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like way off. That you're talking about like a 15% difference between over 2.5 and GTD.
I mean, the over 1.5 I'm seeing on one book, it's minus 145. Yeah. Minus 150, minus 145.
That's really strange. Is that, can you, I'm going to pull up a book for a second and see if that's actually real.
Because DraftKings says over 1.5, minus 130, and then GTD plus 180.
What does it have 2.5 at?
I don't know if they have a 2.5. Let me pull it up real quick.
That's what I'm trying to see, because I'm seeing on Fight Odds, they're saying 2.5 is near Pick'em, but that doesn't really make any sense to me.
Give me 1 second and I got you.
Let's see.
So the
it's 1.5. Okay.
Yeah, it's 1.5 minus 130, and then the under 2.5 is minus 195.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
that makes a lot more sense to me. All right.
I think that over 1.5 is probably decent.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of the finish equity is going to be pretty front loaded here. Also, at least on the Radkkey side, like if he just comes out and dumpsters him, it's probably going to be pretty quick.
Could happen.
Moving on, we got Isaac Delgarian. He's taking on Yadier Delval. Current price, Delgarian is minus 240. The comeback on Delval plus 206. I mean, I bet Delgarian minus 210, but I think there's value here. I think a lot of people look at the Christian Rodriguez fight and are like, oh, Delgarian's got bad cardio, and aren't like, oh, he fought the best scrambler in the division and, literally 10-8'd him grappling in round 1 and deserved to win round 2 of that fight before gassing out. That fight was fought at an absolutely absurd pace. No, he's not Merab Dvalishvili, as it turns out. That's what we learned from that fight, in my opinion.
Right.
Nothing about that fight said to me Isaac Delgarian's got bad cardio, though. What he does have is absolutely elite wrestling, an elite top game, and a pretty good submission game. And he's taken on Delval, and don't get me wrong, Delval, he's like a turbo hamster. Dude is like shredded, and he could knock out Isaac here for sure. No question about it.
Yeah.
If they're standing, he'd win a striking match. He's the better striker. I mean, most guys are going to be the better striker than Isaac Delgarian, but the wrestling gap here is just gigantic. And I've seen way more than enough footage of Vieira Delval to know that this guy's a poor defensive wrestler. He likes to jump guillotines. And once he's grounded, he tends to play off his back. And this is just, in my opinion, not the guy you want to be doing that with. You know, could he snatch a guillotine? Yeah, he could snatch a guillotine, but I think it would be pretty hard for him to submit Isaac Delgarian with a guillotine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I mean, this is like putting like Poirier jump the gilly to like another level, honestly. Like when you see his tape, honestly,
yeah.
Like people talk about Poirier jumping the gilly. I mean, this guy jumps the gilly anytime that takedown.
Isaac Delgarian's going to probably be on top of him inside of 30 seconds. And I think I haven't looked at it yet. I'm kind of interested in Delgarian 1-2. I think he's going to run through him pretty bad. I don't see any reason to think Delval can defend the takedowns. I think a guillotine's really low percentage. I think a lot of the market only being at minus 240 is thinking that Delgarian, you know, his gas won't hold up. But I think if Delgarian's just in top position and isn't having a mat return him, he'll be fine. I'm a huge fan of Delgarian. I think he's probably top 10 to 15 in the division. Yeah. So I like the Isaac side here quite a bit. What do you think?
I guess the only pushback I'll give you is the round 1, round 2 is plus 130.
That's terrible. Yeah.
So terrible price, but otherwise, like I completely agree with the breakdown. Like Delgarian should be able to get easy takedowns here. Delval is going to look to jump the gilly when takedowns are presented here. And on the feet, yeah, like Delgarian, I think he can compete, but obviously there is a striking disadvantage here to Delval. Delval is better.
Pretty sizable.
What?
I said pretty sizable striking disadvantage, in my opinion.
Yeah. Much bigger hitter, too, for Delval on the feet.
Moving on, we got Jeremiah Wells taking on Themba Garimbo. What do you think here, Danny? Current price, Garimbo minus 138. The comeback on Wells plus 118.
So I played Wells right now, a unit to win, a unit at plus 120. Might add another half unit, honestly. Just to me, I feel like the line could be flipped and I wouldn't have an issue with it. Just because I feel like the grappling upside for Wells is apparent and is there. Like I feel like he is the better wrestler, the better grappler in the matchup. On the feet, he's definitely pretty open and there to be hit. I mean, we've seen his durability definitely in question, but same thing could be said for Garimbo. Like, to me, both of these guys have poor cardio, can be flakes, but at the same time, like, Wells is the better grappler of the two, probably is the bigger hitter of the two on the feet, and I just trust him in, like, a dogfight, really.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass this fight, honestly. I feel, yeah, I don't.
He's old. He's getting there.
He's old. He's coming off an Achilles injury, you know, and he's a fucking shithouse, man. Like he's a very good grappler, and he's got a ton of power. Ton of power and athleticism, but like the dude is 5'9". He wings wild, huge ass hooks. His cardio, he's an effective gasser, but he does gas. And the thing that really bothers me, because I wanted to bet Wells, what really bothers me, the Griffin fight, and it's not even that he didn't get him down. It's not even that he didn't get him down. You know. It's that he got stuck in the clinch with Griffin and he wasn't dominating the clinch there. And if he's not dominating the clinch with Max Griffin, if he's clinching up with Garimbo, you know, it's really hard to win the clinch against a much taller man like Garimbo is. And Garimbo actually seems strong there to me. I feel like Garimbo can win in that position. I trust his cardio a bit more. What I will say is, even though Garimbo throws straighter shots, I think Garimbo sucks, honestly, as I've said many times. So like, I feel like if he's engaging in the striking here, he may be the better technical striker, but you know, I mean, Griffin's a much better striker than Garimbo is, and Griffin couldn't exit the pocket. Anytime he threw something behind the jab, he got clipped by one of those hooks on the counter every single time. And like, I don't see that being any different for Garimbo. And I do think if they tangle on the mat, it's possible that Wells just outgrapples him clean and looks like a big favorite. My biggest concern is just Wells' size and Garimbo being able to kind of just clinch fuck him and do what he did to Ruiz here. You know, like Wells' age, his size, and he's off, you know, a decent layoff and an injury. So to me, the price seems, I feel like minus 125 to either side is probably fine. It's just not a fight that I feel like I have a great read on what's going to happen. I just worry that Wells can get, you know, clinched a lot here.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I'm just going to end up playing it small. Like, I feel like it probably is close to a pick-em-ish type of fight, but with the age concerns, the cardio concerns, the layoff concerns of Wells, it's fine keeping it small.
Yeah, agreed. Moving on, we got Waldo Cortez Acosta taking on Delia. Current price, Delia minus 136. The comeback on Acosta plus 116. I think it's a pretty interesting fight. I want to get to a Waldo bet, but also I do feel like Delia kind of has the right skill set to beat Waldo in that not just he can grapple, but he can grapple, but also that he throws with a reasonable amount of volume and he throws hard. And like he is the bigger hitter than Waldo by a fair amount, in my opinion.
Yep.
Which, if Waldo is not getting his normal, jank volume game going, he's going to be in trouble in this kind of a fight. And it's like you combine that with the fact that Delia is the much better grappler here, and you kind of have to make him a favorite. At the same time, though, I do not think Delia is a great nail. I feel like fights can go south.
Durability seems like a bit in question,
Yeah, and like he can check out mentally, I think. Whereas I don't think Waldo is going to check out mentally. And I do think Waldo's grappling's gotten a bit better. Like the days of him being controlled for 7.5 minutes by Marcos de Lima, I think are probably past him. Like Spivak got him down a few times and he exploded up right away, And I think that's the move. At heavyweight, it's like Delia's not getting a fucking body triangle on him, if he decides he's going to get up, he'll probably get up. So I see a lot of scope for Waldo to win this fight. I think he's got the better cardio and I think he's got the more reliable output. It's just that he's so, I don't want to say harmless, but he kind of is harmless. Like he doesn't really hurt anybody on the feet,
He could hurt Delia though.
He could hurt Delia.
That's the thing. Like his durability just seems so like in question to me that like, and he seems old. Obviously, I know it's heavyweight, but like
like Tybura was a perfect matchup for him. A guy with nothing on the feet who can't even come close to matching your power and is kind of fragile, who's going to try to grapple a grappler. Like that's exactly. That was a really, really friendly matchup. This is I really like. I've thought about a Waldo play a lot. I'm with you. I trust his grip more. Like I think he's got like a bigger heart than Delia has. I trust his volume a lot more, and I trust his cardio a lot more than I trust Delia's. Like Delia's lost some bad fights, man. The Moldavsky fight, dude. Moldavsky doesn't fucking finish anybody, man, and that was ugly. Even the Kapaloza fights. Like I know Kapaloza is okay. He's athletic, but he's a light heavyweight. He's a little guy, man. And like that, it was just a horrible, horrible look for him. So I lean Waldo here. I probably won't bet it at plus 115. If it got to like 130, 140, I think I'd get there. But like you're getting a younger guy with a cardio edge who's got more heart, who's probably not going to get held down. I do lean that side. What about you?
I honestly was kind of like tempted on the Delia side when he was plus money because like to your point in terms of like the stylistics of the fight, like Delia in theory could have a wrestling advantage and on the feet, decent volume, good power. But I also feel like the later the fight goes, Delia's cardio obviously wanes a bit and Waldo is just going to pump the volume if he's not able to get the takedowns, and this is just going to snowball kind of. So if Delia is not able to have that early success in the grappling or landing a big shot to maybe deter Waldo, I think Waldo's probably just going to get off volume. And it probably is a 29-28 decision. Maybe you have to worry about, like we talked about, maybe a finish with Delia because his durability seems a bit in question. But Waldo by decision at like plus 250, it's interesting. That's probably how I would approach it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I could see maybe
take a finish.
Waldo 2-3, maybe like something in that realm, because I do feel like a lot of his success, like I think Delia is going to come out hot like he always does and probably have a good first couple minutes, but
so 2-3 real quick is 11-1 and 18-1 by KO.
Nah, it's not terrible. It's not terrible actually. That's because Waldo's not going to submit him. That would be shocking if Waldo submitted him. Moving on though, we got the main event. Steve Garcia, the Mean Machine, taking on David Onama. Current price, Garcia minus 130. The comeback on Onama plus 110. Lags, I can't call a Steve Garcia fight right to save my life. I don't think I've on a side. I don't think I've
talked about this. We've had shot bets about this.
Yeah. And so I sit here and I'm like, I feel like David Onama should be able to compete where Steve is best. And, it's probably a competitive fight. I like Onama's athleticism a bit more. I don't think either are super durable, but even though both have been hurt, I don't think either are chinny. I think Onama is probably the better grappler by a little bit. But at the same time, I'm like, I've literally, I was so low on Steve that it's like I've lost so many bets on his fights. I just don't have strong conviction on his side here because Steve's been fighting more measured. He's been fighting more intelligent. And he's been fighting a lot more measured. And I do think he packs a much bigger punch than Onama does, and he is just like he fights a lot more violently than Onama does. But having said that, I like the over. That is what I do like here. I like the over 1.5. I feel like the general consensus is this is going to be a car crash. Yeah, 6 outside. If I bet Onama, Steve's going to KO him in the first round. There's no doubt about it.
If you bet the over, it's going to go under.
I might bet the over. I really, the thing is, they both been fighting a bit more tactically recently. And like, I think Steve, I don't want to say he's aware of his mortality, but I think he's kind of like, you saw with the Cater fight. He came out fighting Cater and was like, I'm going to win this fight. I'm not going to come out, bite the mouthpiece and go after him. I'm going to fight an intelligent fight and win. Right. I feel like you're going to see that from both of them here. I think Steve might try to clinch him up a bit. I think Onama might try to wrestle a bit. And at the end of the day, it's men's 145, and they're getting priced like a heavyweight total here with like the over 1.5 being like near pickup. So I feel like that's overstating the case here. Like, I do think the fight will probably finish, but I don't think it's going to be they come out and just swing in the center until someone drops. I think you're going to see them box a bit. I think you'll see Steve probably play the outside game a bit and a bit of grappling. So I do lean the over. What do you think here, Legs?
Honestly, it's interesting. It's almost like a Spider-Man meme in a sense that, like, you watch both of their tape and it's like both of these guys are getting hurt and dropped by like awful fighters. Charlie Ontiveros on one side, Romero on the other side. I mean,
the Romero one is
awful. That to me is awful, man. Like, I mean,
getting crescent kicked by Charlie Ontiveros is also awful.
That was awful. Getting dropped basically 3 times in that fight, awful. And that's what's tough with laying juice on Steve, even though it is only minus 130 here. Like, it's just a volatile fight where both these guys can get hurt, can get cracked on the feet, and then can completely sway the fight. I will agree with you with the Onama side that, like, if he is getting hurt, he probably has a little more dog, like, getting back into the fight. Whereas if Steve's getting hurt, we've kind of seen him getting finished for most part if he's getting hurt. Outside of
I think Steve's got plenty of dog, to be honest.
Outside of the Charlie fight wrestled great. Yeah, he does have plenty of dog in him. I think it's going to be a great fight.
I do too. I'm excited. I'm very excited for the main event. I'm just like, I can't really. The over is the betting angle I like. I like the over. I might even like throw a couple shekels on the goes the distance plus 475. I mean, Onama just went the distance with fucking Giga in like the very recent past. Steve did with Cater. I feel like it's not like, I feel like it's more than 20% that it goes the distance personally. So
I don't hate it.
At near plus 500, I think I might be willing to sprinkle it. But I don't feel strong. If I like lose on another, dude, I fucking bet Steve Garcia at plus 250 against Luis Pena in his debut and lost. I bet him against minus 150 against fucking Mahashate and lost. And then I tried to fade him over and over and lost. So it's been.
Hear me out, John. Instead of taking the GTD look, and I'm just looking at different prop angles now for you. If you like the overs, so you take the over 1.5. And you ladder starts round 3 at plus 120. You take starts round 4 plus 205. And you maybe call it a day there. Maybe you take starts round 5 at plus 320. But maybe you call it a day.
I don't hate the ladder call. Honestly, I was actually thinking about that. The ladders are not a bad look here, in my opinion. As long as you're decreasing sizing as they go up, they're not a bad look. So yeah, I'm with you.
I think another thing that could be interesting, I know it's not out now, but I think takedown props could be interesting on a lot of these fights, specifically this one too.
Well, I think they both can get takedowns, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for the night. We'll be back next week. We have a really good card next week, in my opinion. Bone Theme and Randy Brown. That is an explosive main event. There's a lot of really cool fights on that card. So I'm excited to talk about that. We got my boy Jamal Amers back. I'm ready to lose money on him once again. You know how that goes. But yeah, guys, drop a like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at MMA Fox, follow Danny at Danny_Lags, and we'll be back next week.
Should be back Monday night next week.
Yes, we'll be back Monday night. I had something come up on Tuesday. Yes. We were supposed to do it, but we'll be back next week. Anyway, guys, take it easy. Peace.